Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Claude White. I'm back again for another live stream, and I had to hurry back up. Um, as you guys know, I am a very huge Pittsburgh Steeler fan. I've been a fan for over 40 years. Um, my four, I'll say my five favorite Steeler players. In fact, you know what? Let me just make it 10 because I'm going to do five from the Dynasty Steelers of the 70s. I'm going to do five from the other seasons of the Pittsburgh Steelers. My top five of the 70s Steelers. Hey, nephew, how's everything? Um, as I was saying, my five of the Steelers of the 70s are Mean Joe Green, Lynn Swann, Franco Harris, Donnie Shell, and L.C. Greenwood. May he rest in peace. Those are my favorite five players from the Steelers of the 70s. Now, out of the other decades, my top five players from the Steelers, my favorite five, I should say, are guys like Casey Hampton, and this is in no particular order, but guys like Casey Hampton, of course, James Farrior, Hines Ward. I did like the bus, and I have a love-hate relationship with Ben Roethlisberger. I can't put him there, but I do like the great Troy Polamalu. He was a great player, and you know what? Save some love for Ryan Clark as well. Those guys were the heart and soul of the Pittsburgh Steelers of the modern time era. Now, we've had a lot of great players. Hey, welcome back, niece. How's everything? Um, now, tonight's topic, excuse me. Oh, no, Cordell Stewart. You know what? First of all, Cordell Stewart should have won. Now, I understand a lot of this was at Bill Cowher's feet because Bill Cowher never tailored the offense to Cordell Stewart's strength. So I will say that. But Cordell failed the Steelers in so many big spots. And I rooted very hard for Cordell Stewart, but Cordell Stewart just did not cut it, and he certainly did not have the locker room on his side. And if you saw Real Housewives of Atlanta, let's face it, Cordell Stewart looks, I'm sorry to say it, he's highly questionable, man. I'm just saying, I mean, I tell you what, that's cool, niece. Yeah, try to, and trust me, you know what? I'm going to do a live stream sometime, probably next week. You know, an introduction to football for people who are just trying to learn it. Because I'm gonna be honest, football, and I was in the Marine Corps, and I tell you what, football is actually a lot like war. It really is, as crazy as it sounds, where you try to get so many yards at a time. But that will be another live stream for yet another day. But I am on here because I just found out that Joe Haden, who is the top corner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and let's face it, if you're a Steeler fan like me, you know that the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary has been trash for years. Nah, I don't have the patience to coach high school, nephew. I just don't. I'm sorry. And plus, I'm just too busy. You know, maybe later on in life, perhaps, but I just don't have the patience, and I don't really have the time right now. But I wouldn't mind doing that. But I digress. Joe Haden is by far the best cornerback that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. In fact, he's their best person in the secondary. And he was carted off the field today with an apparent leg injury. I have no idea what the severity is, and he's looking for a contract extension. So this couldn't come at a worse time for Joe Haden. Now, Joe Haden has had an injury-prone career. If you followed his career, he obviously started out with the Cleveland Browns. He spent the last two seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year was by far his best. He missed a lot of his first season with the Steelers. And he is a very good player. He's no longer the all-pro player that he once was. Now, you can make a case that he could have made the All-Pro last year, but he is by far the Steelers' best cover corner and by far their smartest and best player in the entire secondary. And without Joe Haden, I tell you what, the Pittsburgh Steelers will struggle to win 9 games. I look at this secondary. I mean, I understand that they got Cameron Sutton, if I'm not mistaken, and he's decent, but he's not a great player. I tell you what, if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would trade the first round pick of next year's draft for Patrick Peterson. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they may have traded their first round pick to move up to get Devin Bush out of the University of Michigan. But listen, you have to pull out all the stops because let's face it. No, they haven't said how long that he'll be out yet. I'm still trying to find out that information. But once I do find out that information, I will do a regular upload, probably not a live stream. Now, if he's out for the season and if it's a torn ACL, there is a possibility that I would do a live stream, but more than likely I won't. But it is very disturbing to find out that Joe Haden has gotten injured this early and just a day prior to the preseason. It's so funny. Yeah, you guys have these kids' psyche destroyed, man. I start yelling and screaming. Don't do these poor young men that terrible tragedy. But I'm gonna be honest, I would be more than fair with those young people. I mean, there's a time to tear them down, and then there's a time to build them up. And then you know what? I won't even use the term tear down. Oh, bless you. Bless you very much, man. You guys are the best, no question about it. I couldn't pick a better niece and nephew. Oh, you know what? Come to think of it, I do have to speak to you, nephew. I heard that you were defending one of the people who, well, as you know, Seven and Auntie are feuding a little bit. I don't know. Listen, I'm disappointed that Seven lied about, certain things, but obviously, there's very dangerous terrain in these YouTube streets. I roll with Auntie heavy. Now, obviously, I have very little against Seven Stars, but I do have a problem with liars, and she has been proven to be a liar, and I have a problem with her as far as that's concerned, and she made me lose a lot of respect for her. Now, I don't wish anything ill upon her and anything of that nature, of course. I would never wish anything bad on, this is a young black woman. If anything, I feel it's a teachable moment, and hopefully she'll learn from this. So I'm not going to, talk about, oh, she's this, that, and the third. I'm not going to do all that. But there is no question that I do have a problem with a person that is lying. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. If you are, listen, you do what you want to do. I would never tell anybody, oh, you don't need to do this, that, and the third. That would be hypocritical of me. But at the same token, I just can't back a liar. I just can't do it. But I digress. Joe Haden, as I mentioned, and all I did was tell the truth and all they got. Oh, okay. Okay, again, I had just found this out not that long ago. You know that. Listen, I love you guys. And again, I would never be like, oh, you need to do this, that, and the third. So, I'm pretty much, that. I'm pretty much neutral with that. Again, yeah, you know what? These YouTube streets, again, it's not real life, So, I'm just, again, I just found out the situation, and I just want to get down to the bottom. I want to know, I want to hear your side of the story because I only heard one side. I want to hear both sides, and obviously, I'm gonna roll with who I would roll with. No, I'm not in the middle of it. I'm not in the middle of it. I love y'all. I love Auntie too. You know that. And listen, I don't have any dislike for Seven Stars. I don't. This woman's done absolutely nothing. Now, I feel the whole thing is really a misunderstanding, but and I understand her mouth has been more than reckless. I think she's shown a lack of respect in some ways, but I do think it's a teach. Oh no, I know that. I know that. I know you wouldn't. There's no way that you would disrespect. You know. I do appreciate that, y'all. I love y'all. And again, I don't have a bad bone. I like 7 stars. I do. I mean, but I feel that she's out of line here, in some ways. But again, I just hope that this whole thing blows over and it goes back to, you know, a very cordial relationship. I really do, because to me, the back and forth thing. Listen, you see all the craziness that's going on out here. I mean, it's ridiculous, and we as a people, I mean, we're divided enough. And when you see all the things that other people are getting away with, and that's another video for another day, it is really disheartening, because we as a people, there's no question about it, we are at war. Whether we want to realize that, whether we want to keep those rose-colored glasses on that a lot of us are wearing, to be like, oh, you know what, racism doesn't exist anymore. Are you serious? You know, when I see a clown, yeah, there's no need. And I think, but you know what, here's the thing about that. She's 33 years old, too. I mean, after a while, I mean, listen. I mean, my gosh. And we all have to grow according. But, you know, again, I'm not even going to be in the middle of that garbage. I'm just not. And again, we as a people are at war. There's no question about it. I mean, look at what's going on. And it's funny also, speaking about that, how, you know, these race soldiers, aka cops, some of them, not all of them, of course, but there are more than a few. There's enough of these race soldier cops that it's funny. These mass killers can kill upwards of 10 or more people, and they get to do the perp walk. If a young black person is holding a Milky Way bar, he gets gunned down and shot in the back. And they're never held accountable. And then you wonder why we get outraged and frustrated. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous. And there's too many of these so-called guys who are mass murderers, these serial killers, who are not my shade of brown, who are a different shade altogether, that not only do the perp walk, they'll get life in prison, they'll get a lesser sentence, and if they wear a badge, they'll get off scot-free altogether. And that is an absolute disgrace. That should not be, I mean, that should not be tolerated. It doesn't matter whether it's in the United States. It doesn't matter whether it's in South Africa. It doesn't matter what part of the continent of Africa. It doesn't matter whether it's in Great Britain, Jamaica, Haiti, Nicaragua. It does not matter. But it is absolutely amazing how these race soldiers, because they wear a badge, they get away with murdering our people with no or little accountability. But meanwhile, me or other people that look like me can walk down the street with maybe a bottle of milk or anything, pull out their wallet, he gets shot. And there's no justifiable reason that they have for it, but they can get away with it. And I'm sick of it. And I know one thing, that marching doesn't work. I've been on enough marches. I've been in enough demonstrations. The only power that we truly have is the power of the pocket. We're going to have to spend our dollars much more wisely than we do. It is absolutely disgusting. And I tell you what, and that's going to be another topic for another day, I don't understand why our people continue to wear European designers who have no respect for us. In fact, they have a disdain towards our people. I mean, look at what Prada, Fendi, Gucci have done and continue to do. And we will break our necks, some of us, to be in quote unquote fashion. And I don't understand it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, man, I'd rather spend my money with people that will do more right by me than somebody who has a disdain and a disrespect towards me. And listen, it's not just these particular designers. I mean, it's also the people that make our food. It's also the people that sell us other goods and services. I mean, look at it. When you look in our communities, we own little to nothing in our own communities. It's always somebody else that are doing things in our communities and making money off of us, and it's not us. And we, as a people, have to stand up, be accountable, and stop this from happening. Now, how do we go about this? Well, first of all, we need to treat each other a lot better than the way that we are treating each other. And when you look at these YouTube streets are a microcosm of what is going on in the black community a lot of times. And you know what? I, for one, am a bit tired of it. I mean, I like to roast and gag as much as anybody. And you guys know that. And sometimes, you know what? I do get a borderline disrespectful. I understand that. But to me, it's never personal. I mean, to me, at the end of the day, that is either a black man or black woman that has a family, and I'm going to. I don't know what just happened there, but I guess somebody is having fun with my connection for whatever reason. But I'm never going to shy away from anything. I'm never going to shy away for the love of my people. I'm never going to shy away for the love of the people who I roll with. In fact, if anything, I might be loyal to a fault. But as far as being a coward, listen, there is not a cowardly spirit that is in my body. If you're going to look for a coward, then you need to look towards another channel. It's not going to be this channel. It's not going to be this man. But again, that's another topic for another day. Mainly I came on because this was supposed to be the Steeler Report, and it is the Steeler Report. And Joe Haden, as of right now, was carted off the field. In fact, this happened over 2 hours ago. So you want to send your sons into the military? Listen, obviously that would have to be a decision that he would have to make. But, and it's funny because I used to be one of those guys, I would never join the white man's army. I would never do this, that, and the third. I won't say I hate the flag, I don't. But I really know what that flag stands for. And I never really liked it in that aspect as far as, oh, you're forced to salute the flag, this, that, and the third. And they do throw the flag in our face entirely too much. But I do respect the men and women who have served this military. And I tell you what, your friends are truly your friends. And I was in the Marine Corps. I was in the reserves, but I was activated for Desert Storm. And I am a veteran of Operation Desert Storm. I thank the Most High that I was able to come back with, in essence, the same way as far as physically. Now, mentally, it did take somewhat of a toll. I'd be lying. I mean, anybody who says that they came back exactly the same as they left is lying. There's no doubt about that. But I am very much more fortunate than a lot of other veterans. And listen, I salute anybody who has the testicular fortitude to put their life on the line for the Most High, their family, and their country. So that's something that you guys would have to deal with probably, a few years down the line, about 17, 18 years down the line. But you have to make sure to do your due diligence, to do the research, and tell them what the pros and cons are as far as joining in the military. Oh, man. Now, you know what? Thank you for even, trusting to ask me that type of question. So I really appreciate that. But there are pros and cons to everything, and that's something that obviously he or she would have to make that decision. Now going back to the original topic. Oh, bless you guys so much. I really love you guys. You guys are tremendous. Um, I'm not if the Steelers have to go the entire season without Joe Haden, as I mentioned before, I don't know if the Steelers will win 9 games. Now, they do lead the league. They did lead the league in sacks last year. I do believe Devin Bush will be an upgrade, but I think you'll see Devin Bush's best, I would say, around week 6 from then. Oh, yeah. Well, as of right now, my Super Bowl picks are the same. I had the Steelers and the Saints. Now, obviously, if Joe Haden is out for the season, I would have to change that because Joe Haden, as I mentioned before, is the best secondary player that they have. I mean, let's face it, their back four has struggled a lot. There's no question about it. The Steelers' weakness over the last 20 seasons has been their secondary. And it doesn't matter, even when they had Troy Polamalu, outside of Ike Taylor, I cannot think. I mean, if you want, listen, I don't consider Joe Haden the Steeler. Joe Haden is still more of a Cleveland Brown. This would be his 3rd season as a Pittsburgh Steeler if this is not a long injury. And again, Joe Haden has been injury prone, and it is ironic that he was looking for a contract extension. And for this to happen to him, it is the most inopportune of times for this type of injury to happen to Joe Haden. And I do hope for a very speedy recovery for Mr. Haden. And again, if and when I find out any more information, I will let you guys know. But as of right now, we know that he was carted off the field. He will more than likely be at Carnegie Mellon Hospital. Now, the guys behind Joe Haden, I believe they picked up Cameron Sutton. I think Artie Burns is still on the team. He's been a first-round bust for the team. Obviously, they have a couple of safeties there. They have a hybrid safety in Terrell Edmonds, who's more of a linebacker / safety. But they don't have really any good corners. I mean, like I said, they have the Sutton fellow that they picked up via as a free agent. They have a couple of other guys behind them. I don't like the Steelers' depth behind Joe Haden. And they've always been a bit short in the secondary position as far as depth and talent. And it's sad. Artie Burns has all the talent in the world, but he'll show you glimpses, and then he'll get burned in the most inopportune of times. Now, I think the Steelers should almost go more to a man-to-man defense because the zone is sort of passé in the NFL. Now, zone defenses will work in 3rd and more than 7 as far as I'm concerned, but in today's NFL, where there's so many 3-step drops and there's so many RPOs, I don't know if the zone defense will really work. It will really be as effective as it used to be when you could really hit the quarterbacks and they took longer drops. But that's just my opinion. And again, we just hope for the best as Steeler fans for Joe Haden, hoping that he only misses maybe the preseason. Because when you're a veteran like he is, you only use the preseason basically for the practice, the 2-a-days, to be in shape. That's really all you're doing it for. You really don't want to extend your veterans during the preseason. So this is, I hope, just a wake-up call, and that they just hold Joe Haden out of preseason. Well, they have to, listen, the Steelers, if you know anything about the Steelers, they've really been predicated based on the zone defense. They've been a zone team from way back in the Bud Carson days in the 70s when they were the Steel Curtain and the dominant defense. That's what really the Tampa 2 is all about. The Steelers, the original Steelers, now they are a 3-4 defense and a zone blitz team because that's what Bill Cowher brought to the table. But before that, when they were a great team, they were really a Tampa 2 defense. That's where Tony Dungy got the Tampa 2 defense from, because he was a defensive back. He was a backup defensive back in the Steelers secondary in the late 70s. In fact, in 1978, Tony Dungy led the Steelers in interceptions, not the Hall of Famer great Mel Blount. And that's mainly because they didn't want to throw Mel Blount's way, for one. And for two, Tony Dungy was a very good player. Now, he got injured, and he actually became a defensive secondary coach under Chuck Noll. In fact, he was the first African-American defensive coach in the NFL, in the modern times of the NFL, I should say. Fritz Pollard was actually the first black head coach in the NFL, but that was before the modern era, which would be the 50s. That is what's considered the NFL's modern era, from 1950 on, when the Cleveland Browns were included in the NFL, because the Cleveland Browns were originally part of the All-American Football League. Wow, I just had to give a little bit of a history lesson there as far as pro football's history and as far as the Steelers' history on defense. And again, the Steelers of today play mainly a zone blitz scheme. And that's why the linebackers are such stars for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the front three of the Steelers, and it's guys like Casey Hampton, and now Javon Hargrave. He takes on a couple of guys. Now, he's more of a pass rushing nose tackle, where Casey Hampton was a guy who would stand up. And when I say stand up, he would take on two linemen, stuff their process, because they would be trying to impede him. Where Casey Hampton would hold those two guys up and open up lanes for the linebackers. It would be him, Aaron Smith, and Brett Kiesel a lot of times. Now, for the Steelers now, and the Steelers line is very strong. Stephon Tuitt is coming into his own. Casey Hayward is an all-pro. And I think Javon Hargrave is not far behind. And he might end up to have a better season than both of those guys this upcoming season. And those three guys do most of the dirty work. So the linebackers, like a TJ Watt, like a Bud Dupree, and hopefully a Devin Bush, will come in and get all the glory, because they would be untouched. I appreciate that, grateful and blessed. Thank you so much for checking me out. And if you get a chance, check out the Wendy Williams Doesn't Have a Prenup quick live stream that I did earlier, prior to this one. But I just wanted to touch base about that. I tell you what, I might come back on later on with a regular stream. I don't think I'll be doing any more live streams this evening. I might, depending on what happens. But if not, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. My Cash App is $UncClaude, if you choose to do that. And I appreciate whatever and all donations that are sent. And, yep, no question about it. Yes, you know what? You reap what you sow. And trust me, I'm not shedding any tears for one Wendy Williams. Now, again, for everybody, may the Most High bless us all in our endeavors. My name is Claude White. Please take care, and God bless.